Ever feel like your brain just kind of hits a wall? Like, you need to come up with something new, something fresh, but the ideas just aren't flowing.
Oh, absolutely. It's like hitting that creative brick wall. We've all been there.
And in those moments, it's like, where do you even turn? Well, for this deep dive, we're tapping into the hive mind of Reddit, specifically a fascinating thread on our True Ask Reddit about unleashing creativity.
Oh, I love that subreddit. People get real, share some seriously insightful stuff.
Right. And this thread was a gold mine. But who has time to scroll through pages and pages of comments? So think of this as your cheat sheet, the best of the best, all curated for your listening pleasure.
I like it. And it's so interesting, this whole idea of wanting to be more creative, because it's not just about, painting a masterpiece or writing the next great novel.
It's about so much more.
Exactly. It's about problem solving, being innovative, just approaching life with that spark of ingenuity.
Yeah. And what I loved about this Reddit thread is that it had such a wide range of tips. Some expected, some totally out there, but all with this underlying message that, like, anyone can tap into their creative potential.
It's true. And there's no magic formula, no one size fits all solution. But experimenting with different techniques, even those that seem a little counterintuitive, that's where the magic happens.
And speaking of counterintuitive, one of the most upvoted comments in this thread was all about embracing, wait for it, bad ideas.
Bad ideas. Okay, that definitely got my attention.
Right. Sounds crazy, but it's actually brilliant.
All right, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. How do bad ideas lead to creative breakthroughs?
So the idea is to challenge yourself to come up with 100 bad ideas.
Yeah.
And I mean truly terrible, cringeworthy ideas, no matter how ridiculous they seem.
100. Wow, that's a lot of bad ideas. But I can see how getting those bad ideas out of the way, clearing the mental clutter, might free up space for the good stuff.
Exactly. It's like silencing that inner critic, that voice that's always telling you, that's stupid, that'll never work. It's like, yeah, you're right, this is a terrible idea, but I'm going to write it down anyway.
I can see how that would be liberating. Giving yourself permission to be wrong, to be ridiculous.
And that's the key. It's about shifting your mindset, creating this space where judgment is suspended and anything goes. One commenter gave this hilarious example. They're like, imagine brainstorming the worst possible teen romance novels like Twilight, but with Frankensteins.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty bad, but also kind of hilarious.
Right. And that's the point. When you embrace the absurd, when you allow yourself to be playful, your brain starts making these unexpected connections.
It's like you're breaking out of those well-worn neural pathways, those habitual ways of thinking, and forcing your brain to explore uncharted territory.
Exactly. And the beauty of this bad ideas exercise is that it's low stakes, right?
Yeah.
There's no pressure to create anything good, so you can let go of those perfectionist tendencies.
It's all about quantity over quality in those initial stages.
And who knows, amidst those 100 bad ideas, you might stumble upon a hidden gem, something that sparks a truly original idea, something you can then mold and shape into something brilliant.
It's like sifting for gold, right? You have to be willing to dig through a lot of dirt to find those precious nuggets.
Yeah. So listeners, here's your call to action, and I'm serious about this one. Pause this episode right now, grab a pen and paper, and spend 5–10 minutes just brainstorming the worst possible ideas for your next creative project. Don't overthink it. Just let those bad ideas flow. You might be surprised at what you discover.
You might even surprise yourself with how much fun you have in the process.
Absolutely. All right, so we've had some fun with bad ideas, but the Reddit creativity will runs deep, my friends, and there's so much more to explore. So we've talked about embracing bad ideas, but what other creativity-boosting gems did we unearth from the Reddit trenches?
Well, one common thread I noticed was the importance of mindset. Like, it's not just about chasing those light bulb moments, it's about cultivating the right mental space for those moments to occur.
Right, because sometimes it's like our own brains are working against us. So how do we shift that, get out of our own way?
One Redditor mentioned the artist's way, which I think beautifully illustrates this idea. Have you heard of it?
It's all about journaling and those like artist dates, right?
Exactly. And it might sound a little out there, but there's something to be said for carving out that dedicated time for creative exploration just for yourself.
So it's less about like producing a finished product and more about just
Yeah.
like letting yourself play and explore.
Precisely. It's about nurturing that inner artist, that sense of curiosity and wonder without the pressure of judgment or expectation. And speaking of shaking things up, another Redditor suggested consuming content tangentially related to your field.
Oh, that's a good one. Sometimes I get so hyper-focused on like researching one specific topic that I forget how much inspiration can come from just like branching out.
It's like cross-pollination for the brain. You expose yourself to new ideas, even if they seem completely unrelated, and suddenly those unexpected connections start to form.
Totally. It reminds me of this one time I was struggling to come up with a concept for a new episode, and then totally randomly I watched this whole documentary about, wait for it, competitive sheep shearing.
Sheep shearing, okay, that's a new one.
Right, totally out of left field. But something about the skill, the precision, the whole like subculture of it sparked something in my brain.
And you just never know where that inspiration is going to come from. And on that note, another recurring theme from the Reddit thread was the power of community, of surrounding yourself with other creative individuals.
Right, that whole find your tribe mentality, which makes sense because enthusiasm can be so contagious.
Absolutely. It's like this positive feedback loop. You feed off each other's energy, bounce ideas back and forth. 1 + 1 = 3.
It's amazing how much more creative you can be when you're surrounded by people who just get it, who are passionate about their own creative pursuits. Okay, so we've got mindset, we've got shaking things up, we've got community. Anything else?
Well, for those who thrive on structure, one Redditor mentioned the John Cleese method. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it, but honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
It's actually quite simple. It's about dividing the creative process into two distinct phases. The first is all about playful exploration, letting those ideas flow freely, no judgment. And then once you've explored those possibilities, you switch gears to a more analytical, structured approach, actually shaping those ideas into something tangible.
Ah, so it's about finding that balance between freedom and structure.
Exactly. It recognizes that you need both to truly thrive creatively. And speaking of thriving, this Reddit deep dive has been a goldmine of inspiration. I don't know about you, but my creative batteries feel recharged.
Mine too. From embracing bad ideas to channeling our inner child with artist dates to sheep shearing documentaries, who knew the path to unlocking creativity could be so much fun. And the best part is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many other fascinating threads in that Reddit post, including one that really caught my eye about harnessing the power of sleep to unlock those creative breakthroughs. But we'll leave that as a little something for our listeners to explore on their own time.
A little cliffhanger to keep the creative juices flowing. I like it.
And on that note, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into the wild and wonderful world of creativity.